I think the reality now is I'm last man standing of the CEOs of that time. We believe that a long-term commitment is needed.
Welcome to another episode of Excellence in Global Offshore Wind. I am joined by Knut Vassbotn, CEO of Deep Wind Offshore.
I've always been pretty hands-on doing things myself, so becoming an engineer was a good starting point. A technical background is a useful start. Follow the money. We need to focus on markets where we can create results for our owners.
Knut, welcome, my friend.
Thank you very much. Great to be here.
It's great to have you here. So let's jump in. Did you always want to be an offshore wind developer? How did you get into the space? Why don't you tell us?
Well, I guess I came into this from another energy sector, oil and gas, and I must admit I never had the same passion for the other industry that I have for offshore wind. So yeah, I think you're right.
You spent, I think, was it 10 or 15 years with Aker Solutions, more on the oil and gas industry, is that right?
Yeah, well, I think it was in the end 22, with most of those in oil and gas. And then I happened to find myself trying to sort out some oil and gas projects in Denmark, and I was introduced to this business. And yeah, I think I found my place there.
And so Deep Wind was started in what year?
We established the company in the autumn of 2020 and had the official launch, I think, 9th of January 2021.
You tell your family and friends that you want to start an offshore wind development company. Do they think that you've lost your mind, or was everybody supportive? And you're in Norway after all. There was no offshore wind.
No, that's right. I guess we had the first turbine at the Met Center back from 2009, I think. But no, it was certainly no industry, and I don't think people really understood what it was. So after 22 years, I was probably too old to take on a position like this. But I made the step, and my wife and my family was very supportive. That was the most important thing. So I'm really pleased with the opportunity that they've given me to focus on this. That is, in reality, it's more than just a day job. It's a way of life anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. It sounds like a story of a true entrepreneur. It's a lifestyle. It's not a day job.
Yeah, no, it is. And I think for me, I am probably a bit of an entrepreneur, but it's been being a part of a big company and being given certain restrictions, I think was good for me, particularly when I was young. It was guiding me in a structured way that I found very meaningful. But there's nothing more fun than this.
And so, fast forward, you decide to launch Deep Wind. You lined up, some very strong partners, and I think most people don't realize, Hagalanden, Kraft, the big utility in Norway, SKL, the power developer, Knutsen Group, and of course Octopus later on. Talk a bit about, how were you able to convince these big companies to join you on your vision of developing an offshore wind developer out of Norway?
Going out on my own was a big step. I have certain close friends that I discussed the opportunity with, and particularly one of them was particularly supportive. He told me just go do it, and then he warned me. He had other friends who've been doing this for years and years, and I really just contacted one individual, the ship owner, and asked him whether he wanted to join in on this venture. And his big play is gas transport. He has some shuttle tankers as well. But he saw the opportunity back in 2020. It was the heydays of the business. So he certainly saw the opportunity, wanted to do something, build on what he's been doing for the local community, wanting to perhaps to differentiate into other sectors. So that was, without the ship owner, it would have been very hard. So securing that first investor was key, and then as we've been building step by step the business, the other investors have come in. So it's been a good ride so far.
And of course, you're referring to Knutsen Group, the largest operator of shuttle tankers in the world, as one of your partners.
That's right. Very big in shuttle tankers, and also, I mean, the owner Knut Vassbotn he's starting to become a mature gentleman. So the fact that he continues to develop his business, continues to charter new vessels, and really try to deliver on the needs for Europe and beyond with gas as a transition fuel is certainly inspiration.
And maybe just to connect the dots for some of the audience, the initial opportunity you saw was in Norway, and fast forward, that was about 5 years ago. Talk a bit about the opportunity in Norway, Utsira Nord.
Of course, Norway has been looking at offshore wind for quite a few years. The site for Utsira that we're probably going to come more into in more detail was opened up in 2010. So really, we've been looking at this for a long time. We have a very good understanding of the offshore acreage from other industries, a very good knowledge really of the offshore environment, shipping and offshore gas. So clearly when Knutsen and Högern Kraft SKL, when they entered, they clearly did that in order to position in the Norwegian market. But at the same time, it was important for me to have a number of opportunities under development. The reality is that regulatory processes, there could be changes in various markets that will take time. So I'm very pleased that we were able to convince them to go global and to develop a portfolio of projects.
And so which markets are you active in now or exploring opportunities that you can talk about?
Back in the kind of the 2021, 22, 23, perhaps, we were looking at all regions of the world. We had a particular opportunity in mature markets, so we were screening most countries. We looked at Japan, we looked at Korea, decided to go to Korea because there is an easier access to obtaining site exclusivity to the deployment of a LiDAR. So we did all those checks, and most of the countries that we looked at, we established the presence, and we've been building on that. And then I would say, in line with what we thought, I guess, some of them have been maturing faster, others have been slower. So, but for us, it's created a number of projects that we think are developable, and the way we see that partners are willing to invest and co-develop as we take projects from site exclusivity into auctions and beyond.
Excellent. So that's South Korea, and you've looked at some other markets as well that are emerging.
Yeah. We've been looking at markets in all parts of the world. We've been looking at markets. We have a project in Sweden. We have a project in Estonia. We've been looking at markets in South America. So we've been really focusing in initial phase on the entire world, and then as we became more mature, we saw that certain markets were more attractive than others, that I've had the opportunity to focus, and then we'll be focusing on the core markets for the next period, and who knows if there will be new opportunities to expanding it.
We met, of course, shortly after you established the company. And as you know, we work with developers, both mature and newer developers. And what I've always, what I found inspiring about your approach, you were always long-term focused and very persistent. And of course, we've seen developers come and go, whether it's looking at the Norway opportunity or other markets globally. What do you think the biggest mistakes that developers make when they decide to enter offshore wind?
When I established the company, I was asked by the CEO of the utility to come up with a strategy and a business plan. And so we did. And we were inspired by the ambitions they have delivered on. So by nature, being a utility is a long-term play. I think they've been around for 100 years. So it makes sense for us to have an aspiration to become an IPP. We still have that. So that long-term view has always been important. Back in 2021, 2022, there was certainly an opportunity to flip projects. We believe that a long-term commitment is needed. And we've seen that let me use Norway as an example. When I started this company, it was seen as a slam dunk. There were 2 companies interested in Norway. There were 3 sites. We established the 3rd company, so it was all given. And then the reality of the market was that quite a few companies entered. I think there were about 30 different companies forming 13 consortia at the time, in whether I was 23 or 24 at the heyday. Most of them have pulled out. So we're back to, now there's 4 companies with interest in Utsira. And I think there are 4 reasons for the fact that we're now back with a limited number. And that is, 1, we've seen oil and gas players coming and going. I think the reality is that oil and gas players have an excellent knowledge of molecules. Whether electrons will be part of their long-term play, I wouldn't know. We have seen utilities having to refocus on markets where they are more exposed. We've seen quite a few Norwegian utilities entering Norway only, and therefore having a kind of a single purpose offshore wind setup, which is very vulnerable. And the 4th one is certain companies were disqualified because of strict Norwegian pre-qualification criteria. So I'm really pleased that we picked EDF as our partner when we could choose between quite a few. And it's been an excellent ride so far with them. So I think that's kind of the long-term stamina has been key to ourselves, and so far the success from Utsira.
It's very interesting analysis there, Knut, on Norway specifically. And you're right, we saw, at one point, about 30 companies, with the 13 consortia. Offshore wind, what's your view on offshore wind in the bigger mix of the energy transition? And then also talk a bit about the ecosystem and the importance of, working with communities and the supply chain, fishers and those elements and the type of impact. Why offshore wind? Why do you think it's still critical to our, the evolution of the energy mix?
The macro picture, of course, we will need more energy from renewables. We also believe that energy security could be important leverage for offshore wind. As we are developing new forms of energy, there are certain technologies that are easier to scale. We see that solar is booming in certain countries. For obvious reasons, perhaps it will not be a big industry in Norway. Hydropower will continue to be developed, but it cannot really deliver on volume. Onshore wind is a little bit challenging in certain areas, certainly to scale up. So and then perhaps nuclear could have a role in the future, but to me that's kind of the next technology. So we need to, in my view, build on what is available technology now. And of course, we have a challenge on the price. We need to, over time, ensure that we are closing in on the power prices in the markets where we operate. But offshore wind will certainly be a key player in order to bridge that gap to the preferred source of energy. And you also will need then to ensure that the local communities are on board. We're indirectly owned by all the municipalities around Utsira. And we've, since day one, had extensive conversations with the representatives from fisheries. We have a good understanding of where they go. And what we are hearing is that for fisheries, certainly Utsira Nord shouldn't be a big issue. The Norwegian authorities have been careful in selecting sites to avoid these conflicts that we don't really need.
Initially, when you started the company, the focus was floating offshore wind. Is that still the case, or is fixed bottom also in scope?
I come from an industry where a differentiator was kind of harsher, longer, deeper, and then reality kicked in. We need to also take the economical factor into the mix. When we select markets, we are of course great believers in floating, but we have to develop the source of technology that kind of fits the bill for the individual markets. And as an example, Korea, we have great access to waters kind of the 15 to 20, 40, 30, 40 meter water depth. And we believe that you should take the best commercial projects first. And then there will continue to be, Norway will be to a very large extent the floating market. So we will be keen to develop that as well, perhaps moving into other countries. But you need to have a focus on the cost as we build this industry.
Just on that, actually, I want to talk a bit about cost. We've seen escalation in supply chain and capex, inflation, interest rates. Although some of those have come down, but really the cost of capital for whether it's floating for sure, but offshore wind in general. What do you think the key is to making offshore wind more economical and bringing that cost down moving forward?
Oh, it's a big question. What we've seen, of course, is the increase in the cost in the supply chain. We are of the view that technology is cost-efficient, well-working technology is starting to become available. It's probably too early to say who the winner will be, but as we have discussions with both technology developers and also the fabrication yards, we see that there is a pathway there. But the reality is that, how many megawatts of floating wind has been installed? Maybe just under 300 megawatts, and Utsira Nord alone is 500. So you will need to have that scale in parallel with smaller projects where you demonstrate the technology. So I think we need both of those cycles, and then we see interest rates coming down. We see that there are funds now being established to again look at offshore wind developments. So we are probably of the view that we will see an improvement in the market. The reality is today, where are the markets? It's France, Norway, UK, perhaps Korea, that are the floating markets. There's a great interest in Japan to position for themselves opening up their market in around 2029. So we certainly see a very positive momentum, and we've seen a shift throughout 2025. So it's been a little bit of a bumpy year, but we've certainly come up with a excellent end of the year.
Yes, 2025 has been a positive, ending for you, of course. When did you add Octopus Energy as one of your partners?
The initial investor group was very much Norway-based. We saw a need to broaden our ownership structure with partners from other countries, and also having investors on the topco with an international view. So that was a great opportunity to include Octopus and their impressive toolbox of renewable energy assets and different technology. They have the Kraken. They have investments in various platforms. So they've been a good investor for us to broaden our eyes.
That makes sense. They're a great partner to have, and like you mentioned, that the global context is an important one as well. As you look out at the offshore wind markets across both mature and emerging markets, are there any that you're most excited about moving forward?
The simple answer to that is follow the money. So we need to focus on markets where we can create results for our owners. So that will be again. I think I mentioned the ones for floating. There are 4, and then there are a few that could come. But to be honest, we focus on where we can get site exclusivity and a reasonable tariff for offtake within a relatively short term. That is certainly our focus. So the 3 or 4 markets for floating, we are committed to Norway. We might consider other markets as well, but that's a fairly easy game. And then there are probably quite a few exciting bottom plays as well. There are European opportunities. There are opportunities in Asia, but I think for the kind of short to medium term, we're running at full speed with the portfolio we have, and then we will consider opportunities as they come along.
It's fascinating, Knut, what you've been able to accomplish in such a short time in an industry where really the developers are quite large, right? The utilities, the big balance sheet guys, and it's not an easy one. And we've seen, as we mentioned, quite a few developers come and go. And you've been able to sustain and really create value, and it's inspiring.
Yeah, thank you. I think you have an excellent knowledge of the industry. I think 5 years, and when my friends outside of the sector ask me how many megawatts or gigawatts have you built in those 5 years, the answer in reality is nothing. So they ask myself, what am I doing? But looking back, there were 5 or 6 or 7, 8, 10, 15 companies of our size back in 2020, and I think the reality now is that I'm last man standing of the CEOs of that time. But I'm committed to stay here for another few years to come to the place where you don't only have lease exclusivity, but also you received projects that have a financial viable way forward, and looking forward to take the FID. And ultimately, as an engineer, I would like to see things being built and finally installed. So that will take a few more years, I guess.
Absolutely. Persistence is key for most of us entrepreneurs, as you know. I always like to ask if you could look back and give your 20-year-old self some advice, having traveled the road and seen and experienced some of the both opportunities and the challenges. What advice would you give your 20-year-old self about the industry, about entrepreneurship, about what you're doing now?
To me, I've always been pretty hands-on, liking also kind of the doing things myself. So becoming an engineer was a good starting point. I probably realized quite quickly that there were engineers that were better than me as you go into the details. But I think that's a technical background is is a useful start. And then I think it's all. I've never had. You asked me previously whether I always wanted to be an an entrepreneur, and I've never set myself that target, but I've always taken the opportunities as they come along. You know, when I've been given the opportunity to live in Germany for a couple of years, when I moved to Spain, having 2 periods in the UK, totaling 10 years. So being able to create that opportunity for yourselves and perhaps your family to explore more and not necessarily have a distinct target of where you want to go, but grab the opportunity. Look at what can the industry, what are the industry needs. Clearly, if you come in at 20 years old, there's a lot of opportunities in AI, which kind of the more mature generation that we're probably part of. We can easily take some of these technologies into use, but I think a 20-year-old can probably do it even quicker and more efficient, and that could probably save or do the same job as multiple persons. So I'm a great believer in AI, and I see some of my younger colleagues how they really take upon the opportunities and build very efficient solutions through that toolbox. So it's a great industry to be part of, and it's probably a good time also to start looking at how you can position for a role, as I'm quite convinced that in 2 or 3 years time we will be back to a very healthy operational setup for the industry.
Great note to end on. In 2 or 3 years, I think we will be in a healthy situation for the industry as well. So, Knut, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure having you here. Look forward to chatting again.
Likewise, Philip. Thank you very much.